All right, let's talk about buying a home. It's a huge financial step, right? And it can feel like you're just drowning in a sea of paperwork and weird legal terms all by yourself. But what if I told you there's a whole system out there that's actually designed to have your back? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on your home buying safety net.
I mean, it's a completely fair question. You're sitting there signing stacks and stacks of documents, juggling lenders, agents, title companies. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed and just a little bit alone, wondering, is anyone really on my side here? Well, the good news is, yeah, someone is.
And look, that feeling, that's exactly why this stuff is so important to understand. The whole journey, with all its jargon and the high stakes, can feel like you're walking into a final exam you didn't even know you had. But once you understand the rules of the game, it completely changes your perspective.
That's right, you are not flying solo on this. The U.S. government has built a pretty robust safety net, and right at the heart of it are two key agencies. Think of them as your guardians, whose entire job is to make sure the process is fair and crystal clear. So let's meet them.
So first up, you've got HUD. You can think of HUD as the original guardian, the foundation of it all. It was established way back in 1965 as part of the War on Poverty, and its mission is, well, huge. It's not just about loans, it's about making the whole housing market stronger and building communities where discrimination has no place. This is the big picture protector.
And then you've got the modern watchdog, the CFPB. This agency is a direct result of the 2008 financial crisis. Its entire reason for being is to be your advocate, your guard dog, enforcing rules that shield you from unfair or shady financial practices. So if HUD built the house, the CFPB is the guard at the front gate, looking out specifically for your wallet.
Okay, so what's the first big job for these guardians? It's all about making sure everyone gets a fair shot. Because historically, that was definitely not the case. There was one practice in particular that created massive, lasting inequality in housing.
And that practice was called redlining, and it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Lenders would take a map, literally draw a red line around certain neighborhoods, almost always minority communities, and just flat out refuse to lend money there. It didn't matter how good your credit was, it was a systemic way to lock people out of homeownership.
So, to fight back against stuff like redlining, Congress passed some really powerful laws. And a cornerstone of all this is the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, or ECOA. Its whole purpose is to level that playing field. The goal is simple, but it is profound. Make sure everybody has an equal chance.
And the law is incredibly clear about how wide that protection spreads. A lender can't make a decision based on any of this. It doesn't matter your race, who you love, how old you are, or even if you get public assistance. The only thing that's supposed to matter is your financial ability to pay back the loan. That's it. Period.
Okay, so we've got the rules for fair play locked in. But what about just understanding what's going on? For decades, getting a mortgage felt like some kind of magic trick where surprise fees just materialized out of thin air at closing. And that brings us to the next layer of your safety net.
Two more really important laws came in to demand transparency. You've got the Truth in Lending Act, TILA. Its main job is to show you the real cost of borrowing money, all wrapped up in a number called the APR. Then there's RESPA, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. This one zeroes in on the cost of the closing process itself and makes shady referral fees totally illegal.
So let's talk about those kickbacks for a sec. Imagine your lender gets a secret payday just for sending you to a specific title company. Who do you think ends up paying for that little bonus? Yep, you do, through higher fees. RESPA makes that illegal, plain and simple, to make sure you're only paying for real services, not some hidden backroom deal.
So, we've got laws for fairness, and we've got laws for transparency. But how does all of this actually come together for you, the home buyer, today? Well, it shows up in the paperwork. But this isn't just boring red tape. It's your paper trail to being in control.
See, before 2015, the paperwork was just confusing. You'd get something called a good faith estimate at the start and a HUD-1 form at the end, and half the time they barely looked related. It led to so many surprise costs. So the new way simplified all of that into just two key documents that are designed to be compared side by side, the loan estimate and the closing disclosure. Your loan estimate, or LE, is basically your cheat sheet for the loan. By law, you have to get this 3-page form within 3 days of applying. Its only job is to give you a simple, standard summary of what you're being offered. And that first page, it's gold.
It gives you the most critical info right there at a glance: your loan terms, your payments, and what you'll probably need to bring to closing.
But here is the real power of the loan estimate. It's not just some wild guess. It's basically a commitment. Many of the biggest costs, like what the lender themselves are charging you, cannot increase at all. Other costs can only go up by a tiny bit, like 10%. This totally kills that old bait-and-switch game where your costs would mysteriously explode right before closing.
Now, the second key document is your closing disclosure, the CD. Think of this as the final scorecard. It lays out all the exact final numbers. And the absolute best part is on page 3. There's a table that puts your loan estimate numbers right next to your final costs. It's designed specifically for you to do a direct, easy comparison. No more guesswork. And to make sure you actually have time to use this amazing tool, there's the 3-day rule. And this isn't a friendly suggestion, it's your right. You must get that final closing disclosure at least 3 full business days before you're supposed to sign anything. This is your time to review, to ask questions, to make sure it's all correct. It's a mandatory pause to stop any high-pressure, last-second decisions.
So after all these laws, all these agencies, and all these forms, what's the bottom line? It's that this really complicated-looking web of rules isn't just bureaucracy for the sake of it. It is a safety net, and it was woven specifically for you.
And if you remember nothing else from this, just remember the number 2. 2. The 2 documents that give you all the power: the loan estimate and the closing disclosure. They are your tools for clarity, your tools for comparison, and your tools for holding everyone accountable.
Ultimately, it's all about changing how you think about this process. It's so easy to look at all this and just see a mountain of paperwork, more red tape, but in reality, every single form, every rule, every disclosure, it's just another thread in a safety net designed to catch you, to protect you, and to empower you as you take this huge, incredible leap.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to chew on. We've built this really intricate system of protections, right? But is it the best way? Does it always empower people? Or does the sheer complexity sometimes create its own kind of confusion? A tangle of red tape instead of a safety net? It's a really interesting question to think about as the world of housing keeps on changing. Thanks so much for tuning in.